Today we are going to talk all about dopamine and what drives you to do the things that you do. Dopamine has everything to do with how you feel right now as you're listening to this. It has everything to do with how you will feel an hour from now. It has everything to do with your level of motivation and your level of desire and your willingness to push through effort. That dictates your so-called quality of life and your desire to pursue things. This is really important. Dopamine is a currency, and it's the way that you track pleasure. It's the way that you track success. It's the way that you track whether or not you are doing well or doing poorly. If ever you've interacted with somebody who just doesn't seem to have any drive, they've given up.
And just refuse to get off that couch. Refuse to study a few more hours. Refuse to go deeper, to go further.
Or if you've interacted with somebody who seems to have endless drive and energy.
I did 101 miles in 18 hours and 56 minutes.
What you are looking at there in those two circumstances is, without question, a difference in the level of dopamine circulating in their system. If your dopamine is too low, you will not feel motivated.
Train at this time. I didn't train at that time. Don't eat this. I ate that. Don't drink that. I drank it.
If your dopamine is really high, you will feel motivated.
I take cold plunge every day because it's part of my routine, my journey. You know, it's not a sacrifice for me, to be honest. I enjoy to do that. Serious. I'm not saying that just to surprise the people. No. I'm enjoy to do it, this kind of stuff. Probably for some persons that a sacrifice is a nightmare. But for me, no, I really enjoy, to be honest.
When you experience something or you crave something really desirable, really exciting to you, very pleasurable, what happens afterwards is your baseline level of dopamine drops. Okay, so these peaks in dopamine, they influence how much dopamine will generally be circulating afterward. You eat a piece of chocolate, dopamine hit. You look at your Instagram, dopamine hit. You see someone you like, dopamine hit. And you might think, oh, a big peak in dopamine. After that, I'm going to feel even better because I just had this great event. Not the case. What actually happens is that your baseline level of dopamine drops. That postpartum drop in mood and affect and motivation is the drop in baseline dopamine. That aspect, or that approach rather, of trying to just get your dopamine as high as you possibly can in order to get the most out of an experience, turns out to not be the best approach. Layering together multiple things, substances and activities that lead to big increases in dopamine actually can create pretty severe issues with motivation and energy right after those experiences and even a couple days later. The next time you need twice as much coffee and 3 times as much loud music and 4 times as much energy drink.
Things like TikTok, Instagram, watching these videos, all these stuff just tires you out. We may think that these external things actually help us relax, but in reality they don't. They just train us even more.
If you do it too often, what you'll find is that your capacity to release dopamine and your level of motivation and drive and energy overall will take a serious hit.
It's like some people, they don't brush their teeth every day. They don't take a coffee every day.
And many people make the mistake of then going and pursuing the dopamine evoking, the dopamine releasing activity or substance again, thinking mistakenly that it's going to bring up their baseline. It's going to give them that peak again. Not only does it not give them a peak, their baseline gets lower and lower because they're depleting dopamine more and more and more. It might make sense why this person, after several years of work hard, play hard, would say, yeah, I'm feeling kind of burnt out. I'm just not feeling like I have the same energy that I did a few years ago. Feel like, we can't really get pleasure from anything anymore. What used to work doesn't work anymore. If we continue to indulge in the same behaviors or even different behaviors that increase our dopamine in these big peaks over and over and over again, we won't experience the same level of joy from those behaviors or from anything at all. Now, that has a name. It's called addiction. But even for people who aren't addicted, even for people who don't have an attachment to any specific substance or behavior, this drop in below baseline after any peak in dopamine is substantial, and it governs whether or not we are going to feel motivated to continue to pursue other things. Once we understand that dopamine is a driver for us to seek things, it makes perfect sense as to why
most people are weak. Most people don't want to go to that extra mile. Most people don't want to find that extra.
a difference in the level of dopamine circulating in their system. Fortunately, there's a way to work with this such that we can constantly stay motivated, but also keep that baseline of dopamine at an appropriate, healthy level.
And that's where I gain the advantage.
All of us can cultivate growth mindset. The neural mechanism of cultivating growth mindset involves learning to access the rewards from effort and doing. Not start layering in other sources of dopamine in order to get to the starting line. Not layering in other sources of dopamine in order to be able to continue. The way that you replenish the releasable pool of dopamine is to not engage in these dopaminergic seeking behaviors.
Eliminate as many distractions as you can and get to a point where you don't need the dopamine rushes of social media, of music is a big one. Like I see people and they listen to music literally 24/7, like when they're working.
Don't spike dopamine prior to engaging in effort. And don't spike dopamine after engaging in effort. Learn to spike your dopamine from effort itself.
Sacrifice temporary fun for permanent dreams, or sacrifice your permanent dreams for temporary fun. And the reality is a lot of you guys are willing to sacrifice your permanent dreams for some temporary fun.
Yeah.
And that temporary fun is never going to get you anywhere.
Eliminate distractions and build that muscle of focus.
In those moments of the most intense friction, you tell yourself, this is very painful, and because it's painful, it will evoke an increase in dopamine release later, meaning it will increase my baseline in dopamine. But you also have to tell yourself that in that moment, you are doing it by choice and you're doing it because you love it. You can tell yourself the effort part is the good part. I know it's painful. I know this doesn't feel good, but I'm focused on this. I'm going to start to access the reward. You will find the rewards, meaning the dopamine release inside of effort if you repeat this over and over again.
You get hooked to those rewards to the point where other kinds of immediate pleasures don't have the same effect on you. And you want this again and again and again in your life.
The most important thing is to understand are that these dopamine pathways really are under your control. And the locus of control resides in the fact that your previous levels of dopamine are influencing your levels of dopamine right now. And your current levels of dopamine and where you take them next will influence your dopamine levels in the next days and weeks to come. So I hope both with the mechanisms that you now have in hand, plus some of the tools to tap into the dopaminergic system, that you'll feel that you have more control over your dopamine system, and certainly that you have a better understanding of your dopamine system so that you can modulate and adjust your levels of dopamine in the ways that serve you best.